No?
Three.
Yeah, sorry, the third one.
Sorry,
didn't
I'm
wanna
new.
go. Sorry about it.
Good evening, I'm Bruce Candy, District 5.
Cynthia Fortson, I'm appointed by the planning and zoning.
I'm Kenneth Bradley, District 1, and also Vice Chair.
Lee Mitchell, District 2.
And William Smith, District 4.
Tracy Patrick, zoning administrator.
And we've had Canola Scott, he's not with us tonight, he's the chairman, and he's appointed by the Board of Commissioners. Our first order of business this evening, I am required to read a few statements regarding the zoning process. Tonight is the first of two public hearings. A second hearing before the Madison County Commissioners will be held at this location at 6 p.m. on May 1st. Attendance is not required at this hearing, but is encouraged in case questions come up that I may not be able to answer. As to the order of business tonight, I will ask the zoning administrator to make her comments as to the zoning request. Then the applicant will come forward, state their name and address, and sign in, and state their reason for the request. Next, the zoning commission will be able to ask questions to clarify their understanding of issues related to the application. After that, I will allow public comment for or against the rezone or amendments. All comments will be addressed to the commission and not others in attendance. No personal attacks will be allowed. Note, the Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending body only, consisting of concerned citizens who are appointed by the county commissioners. We are a fact-finding body that visits the property, reviews the information, considers public comment within the guidelines of the comprehensive plan and other land use ordinance, make recommendations to the Board of Commissioners. The final decision will be made on Monday night here, right here in this same room, May 1st. Now I ask members of the commission if they are in any need to recuse themselves of any application to be heard tonight. Now I ask the zoning administrator for the first application to begin the public hearing. We open the public hearing. Tracy.
Okay. First up, we've got Paul Simmons, and he is requesting to rezone his 3 acres from A1 to AR to bring the lawfully non-conforming property into compliance with current zoning regulations and to combine the vacant property with his adjoining property on map 80, parcel 85A for tax purposes. Property is located at 3675 Highway 191 in Danielsville on map 80, parcel 85-06 in District 4.
Okay, Mr. Paul, you want to come and speak?
The 3-acre tract came off of an original 5-acre tract with a brick house, and the person that bought the brick house did not want but 2 acres, so the county allowed me to cut it into a 2-acre and a 3-acre tract. Well, I don't want any more neighbors now, so I want to combine the 3-acre tract in with the 6-acre tract that my wife and I own together for tax purposes. My ultimate goal is to combine the 6-acre and the 3 acres and also combine it with a 54-acre tract that we own jointly.
And I guess while you're still up, and the second one is for your wife. Is she in attendance tonight?
No, she didn't.
Okay, and she's requesting to rezone her 6.7 acres from A1 to AR to bring the lawfully non-conforming property into compliance with current zoning regulations and to combine the 3-acre with a 3-acre adjoining property, map 80, parcel 85-06 for tax purposes. And it's at that same address. So, and I do have the display of the site plan on the projector.
When we originally cut the 6.7 acres off the estate of my mother, it was all A1, and the 6.7 acres was classified as A1. then. So that's the reason for that. And while we're in this process, combine it with a 3 acre tract, because I don't want any more neighbors, so I don't need a 3 acre tract. Any other questions?
So your ultimate goal will be to combine all three and turn it back into an A1? Is that?
And I can pull up that map. Is this the 53 acres there?
Yeah, the 53 acres was cut, the 6.7 acres was cut out of the original tract. My brother has a 10 acre tract down there that, is right off of Cedar Grove Road, dirt road. So he got 52 acres on that side of the road, and I got the 53 acres and the 6.7 here, and the 5 acres with the brick house, and then he and I jointly own the 20.13 acres. So in the next few years, our goal is I'm gonna swap him 10 more acres next to where he lives, and then I'll take the 10 acres out of the 20. So the 54 acre tract will be cut down to 43 acres plus the 9, and then the 20 acre tract will all be mine, and he'll have 20 acres where his house is. That's the way it was cut up when our parents passed.
Thank you, Mr. Stone.
So,
Are you okay with us taking just one vote, Mr. Simmons, on both of those?
I don't see why not, whatever the board wants to do, this doesn't matter to me.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Okay.
Anybody want to speak in favor of this result? Anybody want to oppose this result? I'll close this hearing and bring it to the board. Any comments?
I'll make a motion that we approve as requested, both of the rezone request and the combination.
Got a second. I've got a motion by William, got a second by Cynthia. Any more discussion? Stephanie?
Yes.
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 We'll open up. Go to the next one, number 3. Ms. Tracy.
Okay. Apologize, let me get called up here. Okay, next up is Cleta Cantrell, and she's requesting to rezone her 7.69 acres from A1 to AR to bring the lawfully non-conforming property into compliance with current zoning regulations and to allow a second home to remain on the property as an accessory dwelling unit for her daughter. The property is located at 595 Duncan Swindle Road in Commerce on map 11, parcel 39-05 in District 1.
Open public hearing for Ms. Cantrell. You want to come state your name and address and tell us?
My name is Cleta Cantrell, and we have the mobile home for my daughter. She just had a baby 2 weeks ago on the property. And I'm almost 79. My husband's going to be 72, and we need her there to be able to take care of us as we get where we can't do anything, which may not be, I don't know when, but right now we're fine, but we don't know. But anyway, we need her to be there. And the trailer's already there, so we have it there now on hardship, but we want to get it zoned in to where we won't ever have to move it when we die. That's the whole purpose of this.
Thank you. Anybody want to speak in favor of this rezone? Anybody want to oppose this rezone? I close this public hearing and bring it back to the commission.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
So I'm looking at the rezone notes on, this application. And it says, just want clarification, under the medical hardship allowance, homeowners allowed to stay on the property with the condition that medical hardship be renewed annually with a letter from the primary physician stating the hardship is ongoing or required. Once the hardship no longer exists, the home must be removed from property within 60 days. So this change, the zoning change will obviate that requirement?
It will. We can, eliminate the hardship permit and just change the status to an accessory dwelling unit. And in the AR, currently, you only have to have 4 acres for 2 homes.
Okay, thank you.
any more questions or comments? Do I hear a motion?
So I'd like to move that we accept this.
Bruce made a motion, I'll second it. Any more comments? Bruce?
Yes.
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 Okay, we'll open up the public hearing for number 4. Public 4, and we'll ask Mr. Burkhalter, do you want to do 4 and 5 together? That be okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Jeff Burkhalter is requesting to rezone his 14.63 acres from A1 to A2 to bring the lawfully non-conforming property into compliance with current zoning regulations and to allow 3.8 acres from this tract to be absorbed into the adjoining property, map 14, parcel 64D. That includes his home. Property is located at 659 Lucky Jones Road in Hull on map 14, parcel 64A in District 1. And then the adjoining parcel also contains the exact same acreage, 14.63, and it is also zoned A1 and needs to go to A2. And so then again, to allow the 3.8 acres from his adjoining property to be absorbed into the property with his home. And the reasoning behind the swapping of the land is Jeff's existing driveway kind of splits both parcels. So he's wanting to just get his driveway lined up on his home tract. And so that's kind of the reason for that. And it will be bringing it into compliance with zoning regs due to the acreage size just being 14.63 acres in an A1, so it's non-conforming, but it will be in an A2.
Okay, Mr. Burkhalter, you want to come and tell us about the application?
Yeah, Tracy pretty much covered it. The reason I bought the land was because my driveway was on the tip end of the property. Me and a buddy of mine bought it back in 1998, and we was building the driveway because it was all raw land. Just got over too far, which it wasn't a problem as long as he owned it, but then he sold it. And then that guy kept it for 18 years, and he seen that my driveway was on the edge of his property, which wasn't 20 feet, but you know how people are, they don't want you on their property. So I ended up buying it to move the property line about 150 feet in the front, 150 feet in the back, to pretty much make a privacy buffer. And that's where we're at with it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burkhalter. Anyone want to speak in favor of this? Anybody want to oppose it, this rezone? I'll close the public hearing and bring it back for the board. Any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve this request.
Got a motion to approve, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's approved by Lee, second by Stephanie. Cynthia?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
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 Motion carries on both the properties. So thank you, Mr. Burkhalter. You'll be back here Monday, May 1st. You don't have to be here, but it will be presented to the Board of Commissioners May 1st at 6 p.m. right here in this room. Okay, open public hearing back up for number 6, Ms. Tracy.
Okay. Richie Herring, applicant for his father, Richard Herring, is requesting to rezone 3.96 acres of his property from A1 to AR to gift his son for a home site. Property is located at 3909 Highway 98 East in Comer on map 82, parcel 20 in District 2. Now, this is a 31.63 acre tract of land, and it's currently zoned A1. So he is just wanting to cut off, the property for his son, and that portion will be AR, and then the remaining will stay A1.
Mr. Herring, you want to come and state about the rezone?
Pretty much just wanting to do, as you said, get it rezoned so I can put a single wide trailer on the land. Me and my family are trying to stay pretty close, so he figured he'd just give me some land to stay on the same property.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Herring. Anybody want to speak in favor of this rezone? Anybody want to oppose this rezone? I'll close this hearing and bring it back to the board for questions or comments or approval.
Can I ask a question? This might be more of a question for Tracy or Christopher. The fact that that the drive will serve 3 different homes, is this considered a privately, I know it'll be a private drive, but the possibility or the need for the county to have to maintain that road, is that?
Until the driveway ordinance is passed, which we haven't passed it yet, the county doesn't have an issue with it.
Still 4 you can have on a private drive?
Or access to 4 properties, not
Yeah.
homes, but just 4 properties.
4 property, okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered if this is gonna be one of those that the county will end up calling it a private drive and having to maintain, or is this private concern? Their responsibility.
Yeah, there's always that possibility. At this point in time, without the driveway ordinance being put in, that, the VOC is discussing at this point in time, there's no issue for us as a P&Z board recommendation to make a move.
Okay.
Just another point of clarification. For example, the 30-foot easement that's delineated, is that actually a legal boundary? Which is to say that, that easement is there and it's recognized that everyone will have access to that easement.
If they choose to do so, put the easement in either the plat or in a deed would be something that they would take on. In the future, when we do have the driveway ordinance in question, that'll be something that we will have to address, but it's another reason for the driveway ordinance where we have a clear definitive of who is responsible for the maintenance.
Well, I'm straining to see it, but I think the easement shown there is drawn on the survey, right?
Yeah.
And the survey will have to be recorded after the DOC approves the rezone, so then that will make it that'll be the legal document that establishes the easement.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. But you are right, once that gets passed, it'll be something we have to add into.
Mm-hmm.
Only other question I had is on this, is there adequate road frontage for us to be able to? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I've nodded my head yes, but the friends, sorry.
I saw the verbal cue, non-verbal cue.
Anybody else?
Okay, I make a motion, and I wanna ask first, do we need to put the easement as a condition? Be recorded?
It's on the site plan.
Oh.
So we're
So I-
on the motion to approve the site plans.
No, it doesn't need to be a condition, they'll address that when the plat's recorded.
Oh, yeah,
As
that's
long
what
as
I
they
thought.
record this plat, then it'll be
Okay.
fine.
Okay, so I make a motion to, approve the request.
Got a motion to approve by Cynthia, do I hear a second?
Yes, sir, second.
Bruce seconded, any more discussion? I say yes.
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 The motion approved, 6-0, so it'll be taken up for the board May 1st, right back here in this room at 6 o'clock. You don't have to be present, but it's recommended to be there if you got any questions. You open up the hearing for the next one.
Okay. Last up, we have Matthew Wilson, and he is requesting a conditional use to operate a small-scale, non-breeding dog kennel for clients and to house ready-to-adopt rescue dogs on his property. Property is located at 955 Cobblin Dudley Road in Danielsville on map 61, parcel 45-01 in District 4.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, are you here?
Yes, sir. We're requesting to build a kennel. We'll be primarily boarding. We will do some ready-to-adopt foster dogs. We're already working with several rescues and have been fostering for about 10 years now ourselves. So we're dedicated to helping dogs out, and we're not going to do any breeding at this place.
Question? Yeah.
I came out there and the heavens opened up and it started pouring rain and I couldn't get out and walk around, but I did see the white stakes, for the corners.
Correct.
The question I had is, this may not be to scale, but on the drawing here, you said that there's actually 140 feet from that corner to the property line, the closest property line?
I'm gonna have everything regraded and moved. That stake is not, I think we're just within, so I'm gonna have to regrade and move everything over. And I'm planning on doing that for sure. Cause as I got into the process and found out, I started clearing the land off several years ago, and it's just taken us a while to get going, and things have changed since then, so I'm now gonna move all of that.
So that setback requirement is 50 feet?
100.
100 feet? Okay. And one other question, how many dogs, what's the maximum number of dogs that you would have there at any given time?
20 large breed and 10 small breed, and a mixture of anything in between that, so 30 dogs altogether.
Is that including personal?
No ma'am, that's not included personal. We have 10 dogs of ourselves, we live on the property in a house just down the hill.
But, as I was looking, I know there's a long drive, is that your drive that goes along?
That's correct.
Okay, and then sitting on the hill is where you wanted to put the kennel?
That's correct.
Okay, I mean, it was real muddy, I couldn't get out either.
Yeah.
So,
It rains so much.
and I didn't want to go up that long drive, so okay.
I wouldn't have done it, but I had a four-wheel drive.
Yeah, I think I saw when y'all came by. It was a mess.
So one quick question.
Yes, sir.
I noticed in your write-up that you were also taking the rescue dogs, but they were going to be kept in a separate facility?
Right. You can't get, the Georgia Department of Ag doesn't want to approve a license for both in the same facility. While we're still working with rescues and are starting one of our own, that'll be in a separate location. But as of now, we're going to keep it foster-based.
Okay, so essentially right now you're just talking about not going into the rescue part until you get another facility.
Correct. That's right. we've, been working with Madison Oglethorpe, Animal, with those guys and fostering some of their dogs, and really I'm gonna model off of their facility. It's a really good facility.
Well, great. I'm just gonna kid with you a little bit. What are you gonna do about that driveway? I didn't go to get up there either.
So it's gonna have to be paved. That's what we've got our plans on. We're gonna bring in some pressure run and get it a lot better off. And I'm contacted the Smith Planning Group about getting us a site plan for water and everything else as well. So, but yeah, you're right. Nice four-wheel drive is what it takes to get out there right now.
Do you plan on being registered with the state?
Yes, sir.
And kind of a follow-up on that, you mentioned there as far as with two different types of facilities.
Right.
And I guess, Christopher, I mean, is that something that once we, if this is approved, is that automatically then approved, or do they have to come back to be able to layer on another?
No, they would be approved as a conditional use for the kennels, and then it would be on the state whether or not they meet the requirements for them to be able to handle fostering and rescue.
So,
That'd all be through the animal, companion animals.
so, for clarification for me, so the kennel's gonna be, then you're gonna have a shelter, dog shelter?
Yes, ma'am. We'll do a rescue shelter, but I plan on doing that and either purchasing some other property and locating that elsewhere, but I don't plan on having it at the same place.
Okay, that's why I'm wondering if it's everything.
Right, no, ma'am.
Just to help clarify, if you don't mind. The reason they have that is so that communicable diseases don't get passed between the foster dogs and the rescues.
Absolutely.
So while the state, I've never seen it done in the past 8 years, but if they did, it would be the first one I've seen in Northeast Georgia.
So for the kennel, you're gonna have a place where they run, and you're gonna have all that cut off, and
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we'll have outdoor runs where they can run, and then on the inside, most of the runs will be 5 by 18, and we've divided into, with part of it being open to the outside with fencing, and then an inside so we can close them at night and climate control the rest. But yeah, they'll be allowed outside to run around. We plan on being a model boarding facility. We've toured several, and they get pretty pricey and pretty ritzy, but we're going to try to be somewhere in between and offer a really nice facility.
Any more questions for Mr. Wilson? Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thanks, sir.
Do we have, anybody wants to speak in favor of this? Rezone, conditional use. Anybody want to oppose this conditional use? Come speak, sign in and speak and.
Yeah, I signed in early. My name is Keith Nix. I own several pieces of property right around there. Actually, I don't know if you got the plat, Tracy, but. So the little small triangle piece that's right beside there. To the left, right there. Yeah, right there. I own that. There's a home on there. Very concerned about the noise. Very concerned about land value. I have a couple other pieces of property on Collinsville as well. And to me, when I think about zoning and ordinance, you get a lot of slack. You guys get a lot of slack. But this is the reason that zoning and ordinance is in place, is that somebody can't take a piece of property and do whatever they want. And I'm all for people being able to use their property, but do something that's out of the ordinary and affect somebody else's land value or privacy. I'd like to go out on my porch and not hear 40 dogs barking at any given time. So I ask you, think about if this was going beside your property. Would you be in favor? So that's all I have.
Can I ask you, I knew that, there's a house, the green.
So the single wide that's right there,
Yeah.
I own that.
That's yours.
Yeah, and then I have, my home is on down the road, is on up the road, 643. And then I have other property down at the end of the road. So I have significant land around there that would be affected, by this kennel.
So you're presently renting that single wide?
Yes, sir. And have for many years. And you know that potentially that could affect me being able to rent, or if I chose to sell it, you know, it definitely would affect the value. Because most people wouldn't want to buy it directly beside a kennel. The kennel's 40 dogs, and it could be, you know, barking and whatever. That literally, and I think he said 140 feet maybe from the stake or whatever, but it's very close, very, very close.
He said he's gonna have to move it.
Yeah, but I mean, give or take 20 or 30 feet, it's not gonna change the sound. So I ask you to consider that.
Anybody else want to speak against this rezone?
I'm Natalie Nix, and my grandfather was George Collins, hence the Collins and the Collins Dudley Road. So the property that equaled about 100 acres, of which I have the 18.25 there, that is 3 tracks over from this property. It's just concerning to me. My parents also live at 564 Collins Dudley Road, and my sister owns the small tract at 602 Collins Dudley Road. So this property has been, and cousins and all on this, so this property's been in our family for a really long time. And I know things change, but it seems to me that this is a business that's being presented to be put in a residential area. And I do have concerns for the noise of the dogs, as well as if you're bringing in fosters that are skittish, you know, they're going to bark more, they're going to potentially get loose, and there are kids in our area. You don't know the temperament of dogs or the dogs that'll be allowed there. But the property value is also a concern of mine, because we have had this property in our family, and it is very, very, not only sentimental, but important to us. I feel like it will devalue our property to have this in a residential area. And I just don't think it's befitting of the area. I think if someone wants to open a business such as this, they can do it in a commercial area that's more appropriate or zoned for it, rather than putting a conditional use, you know, in place.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
How many acres did you say your land was?
We have the 13.25 and the 5 acres. It's one tract, really, but we, the 5 acre and the 13.25 is all 18.25 is ours.
Okay, and it's zoned agricultural what?
2, and then we have, and then we own a tract at the end of the road as well as the A2, the 6501, that's there. And then my parents wanted to be here, and he wanted to express his opposition as well, but my sister is battling cancer, and so they're with her.
I'm sorry.
But he said he is more than willing to take time if that is something that would be allowed and or appropriate. He would also like to express his opposition to it for the same reasons.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm Steve Lord. I'm speaking for my mother-in-law, Mary Collins. She couldn't be here. She's 83, just got out of the hospital, so she couldn't make it. And she just wanted to say that she was against it because, like Keith said, you know, we related to them too, and it's been in the family for so many years. And, you know, we got my daughter and her husband live right next door, and Mary, her land joins to Matt's land. And I think it's a great thing that Matt's doing, but just at the wrong place, you know. That's my opinion. And like Natalie said, if dogs are skittish and if they get out or something, I've got a grandson that, you know, 2 years old, and they don't know nothing about dogs and all, but, you know, just from that point of view, and the noise, you know, like Keith said, you know, if it was beside y'all's house, we go down their house and have get-togethers, and, you know, what if all you heard was dogs barking? You know, that's not what I had to say for her.
Well, I thought you were speaking, I thought you were here for somebody else, you don't have to worry about that.
I was here speaking for.
Yeah, no, that's fine, that's fine, I thought you were speaking for somebody. On the document, no, you don't have to worry about that after that.
Well, it was Mayor's land that connects to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can speak on it.
Anybody else?
Hey, man, no, it's right.
Anybody else want to speak again? Okay, Mr. Wilson, you got anything you, wanna speak on some of the concerns?
Yes, sir, I do. We've toured several.
Come back to the.
Yes, sir. We've toured several facilities, and we knew that was gonna be a concern, and it's one thing we've really kept an eye to. Like I said, Madison Oglethorpe Animal Sanctuary is a good facility. They have good noise control. We've toured other ones. We know it's gonna cost us more to be able to do what we wanna do, but it's kind of a dream of ours. It's something, you know, we were really passionate about the dogs. I recently joined the Georgia Pet Coalition and are working with them to help get laws against backyard breeders and to help out with rescue dogs and help find homes for them. So this is something we're really passionate about, and I do understand their concerns and have no problem with that. But I'm taking every precaution I can to make it as quiet as possible. We will have extensive fencing on the property to help keep the dogs in. I've seen dogs roaming all over the neighborhood, some big dogs, and not my dogs. My dogs stay in. So I understand the concerns, and at the same time, I see dogs out all the time, and they're never really a concern. And the noise, I mean, there's people ride four-wheelers and motorcycles through the woods at the house, and that's a noise concern. And it's, you know, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, everybody's able to enjoy what they need to do. And I do understand the concerns, but it is something we will be looking closely at, and I'm designing the kennel to be able to ameliorate the noise.
Can I ask, because I think to get clarification even from me, and I think some of the people that came up, because you stated the number of dogs, but I think you were missing some of the dogs that you were going to be sheltered. Was that mixed up? No.
No, the kennel itself will be able to do 20 big dogs
okay.
and 10 small breeds or a mix thereof.
And
So
then
30 dogs total.
plus yours.
Mine are already at the house. I have 16
Yeah, I know, but we
dogs.
got that's
Yeah, they'll stay at the house.
that's another 10.
That's another 10, but they won't be at the kennel.
Okay.
That's right. And we have 16 in the house. We've been fostering for over 10 years and have had that many dogs at the house for a while now.
Okay.
And I've never had a complaint on the noise.
Bruce, go ahead.
Sir, it sounds like you planned, from your description and your plans there, it's a pretty high end. I mean, you're gonna be able to Zoom with your dog and give it a treat?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're gonna provide full camera access.
What an age we live in.
Exactly.
The other thing is, I've noticed that your land is pretty much forested right now.
Correct.
Would you consider some sort of a boundary, a buffer zone of wooded area?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd be happy to plant more trees to help screen out for the noise. Because Keith's right, that trailer is awful close to that side. And that's one thing we've noticed that, but I've really got no other spot on my property to be able to build this.
But you said you are going to move the stake over?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you put those
Absolutely.
buffer of trees there?
I could. And as a matter of fact, now that I'll, in the next site plan, I'll go ahead and get that drawn up, if y'all should approve it.
What time of day would the dogs be let out to roam outside? And what would be the hours for that?
We are, in our operating hours, we'd probably start letting the dogs out around 9, and we don't let them all out at once. We let a few at a time out, because that's one of the things we've learned. You don't board and let other people's dogs mix with other people's dogs. You don't know how they're gonna act together. So we will be letting them out a few at a time, let them have their time, and then they'll be brought back in, and then the next set of dogs will be brought out. So that'll happen, there'll be a morning time, and then they'll be in for the middle of the day, and then in the afternoon, we'll let them out again for a little while.
You're saying large dogs, you're talking like 30-pound dogs? Is that,
Up to 6 years, 70-pound dogs.
so you're, what breed of?
I mean, we're not turning down any breeds. I mean, if you want to come up, we will require vet records. We will require references for it. We try to weed out. When we foster now, we do a lot of research on the people to make sure they're the right owners for the dogs, and we also will be researching the dogs that are brought in. If you don't have the right records, you don't have all the stuff, or I get any bad reviews on it, you're not coming into my kennel.
Can you clarify a little bit more on the run area for these dogs? When they're outside, I mean, I see the outline, I guess, of the building itself, but will the dogs be, in looking at this, are the dogs gonna be closer to the property line than the building itself? Are they gonna be on the other side?
What we've designed on the building is to keep the open part of the runs to the outside away from their property line. There'll be no runs that are facing that part of the property line. They're all gonna be on the back side of the building and away from the building. And what we're designing to do is have 4 outdoor areas so that we can let, a few dogs out at a time and not have to race all day long letting dogs out. But all of that will be on the back side of the building from where the adjacent property is.
Kind of between the building and your home?
Correct, and on the back side.
More questions? Thank you, Mr. Wood. Hereby close this public hearing.
I do have a question that I don't understand. Okay. I don't understand the difference, and this is my ignorance to zoning, but the difference between him running a business and needing it classified as business versus a conditional use. So I don't know if someone could explain that, why we aren't rezoning it to business if this is going to be a business for profit.
It actually falls in the home-based business, I'm sorry. Yeah, a home-based business, with a conditional use, but meaning that if they live on the property, this is an allowed, type of business, and it's the conditional use is approved.
Okay. Which it doesn't, to join their property, it's closer to our property than it is theirs, but two, with the runs being on the back of the house, we live at 643 Collins Dudley Road, which is to the back of that property. So either way, we're affected by the runs, no matter if they're in the back or the front. While I am concerned about the value of the property that is adjacent to it, this is our livelihood, and we go outside and spend so much time outside. I want to hear the birds. I don't want to hear dogs barking. And if it's a business for profit, I don't think it's the right location. While I love what he wants to do, I just don't think it's appropriate for where it's located.
Okay. Hereby close this meeting.
Can I say something? Please.
Her name's on my list.
I'm Lenny Lord, and Mary and Charles Collins, they were my parents, and their land actually is right there close to Matt. And I have kids and grandchildren, and I just don't feel like it's appropriate to do this, due to land taxes, but also my kids and grandkids, they may want to build a house close down at the river, close to where Matt is. And I just don't feel like it would be right. I mean, if you're building a house, you don't want a business, a dog or anything that noise and stuff. I mean, and Matt, I feel.
I have no problem with your opinion.
Oh.
That's just me,
Okay.
Let me get your name again.
It's Lenny Lord. I was a Collins before I married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Bradley, since we've given opposition 2 rounds, you might need to give Mr. Wilson the rebuttal since.
Thank you. Thank you. You got a rebuttal to that?
Sir, I think I've said about all I know to say. I mean, like I said, we're going to do everything we can technology-wise and however we need to help the noise down. And like I said, I've already seen dogs roaming around the neighborhood, and just hasn't been a problem. And while I understand where they're coming from, this is, I've researched it, and we're trying to take care of all of those points. These aren't things that we have just shoved under the rug and let go by. We're actually working towards getting those, and I've got some really good resources and other people in the industry that are helping me out to do this the right way. I don't want to do this right. I don't want to be shade tree. I don't want to be secondhand. I want to be the best, and that's what we're aiming for.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Now I hereby close this public hearing and bring it back before the committee. Any questions, motion?
I'd just like to preface this is one of those tough ones, as far as I'm concerned. I think we all feel that the emotion associated with it. But I mean, just a couple of principles that certainly I think are really important with planning and zoning, because it's always the balance. It's one that the rights of the property owner. I mean, private property is trademark of our culture. The other thing is that this is agricultural land, and this is something of, caring for animals kind of thing. It kind of lends towards it. I'm certainly sensitive to the needs of the local residents there, and I think I would like to, if there's no further discussion, make a motion that this be approved, and on the condition that there would be a buffer area left, as you mentioned that you would do.
Okay, we got a motion to approve with the buffer around the channel. Do I hear a second?
Mike, if we're gonna put something out there, should that be a little bit tighter as far as a buffer?
It would be better, so, I think what I heard Ms. Gandy say, so it would be the existing it'd be a natural buffer. And would it be all around the property or just on certain parts, and also how wide?
So you want to amend your motion, Mr. Bruce?
I would, well, looking at it, and I think the principal concern is the nearest property and the buffer along that edge. Now, I know we've got some regulations on buffer zones, but
I'm trying to think about the right way to phrase it too.
Ms. Tracy, could you put the map back up?
I have it pulled up right here.
All right. So would it be on the, well, I suppose, I guess we've heard from, at least from the southwest property owner, but perhaps it should be on all adjoining property lines, a natural buffer of
Side and front property lines, natural, non-vegetative, natural vegetative buffer of 100 feet with necessary additions. Did I make that sound legal?
I just leave off necessary.
All right. There'd be 100-foot vegetative buffer on the side and front property lines.
Yeah.
Because
that's important.
the river buffer, he can't do any mechanical work within 100 feet of that, so.
There you go.
We don't want to do anything that would, or any condition that would cause us to be in violation of our waterway buffers, so I would definitely not mention the river in the back. But the side and the front property lines, if you wanted to say vegetative buffer.
Mr. Chairman, if I could amend that motion to reflect that.
Could I say something?
Public hearing's closed.
more comments? So Tracy, you wanna read the motion, once you get it wrote down?
I guess,
Keep taking.
sorry, I'm writing it all right. So the amended motion by Mr. Gandy would be to approve with the condition that 100-foot vegetative buffer on the side and front property lines remain established. I don't think that one.
No, sir,
Words in your voice.
that's sort of.
So no new.
No, just maintain a 100-foot vegetative buffer. So that if, say, there was only 50 foot, then it had to establish vegetative, and if it was already there, you wouldn't have to.
Got a motion down here, second. All right, go ahead.
In dealing with some previous kennels.
Yes.
Along the way, I think at least once we have specified that they be registered with the state. I know that he's planning to do that. Does that need to be a part of this to make sure that's done so that they oversee it?
I mean, it's my understanding that's required anyway.
No, we're leaning that way,
What's that?
to add that to the ordinance, that if you have a conditional kennel, that has to be registered.
Well, no, I mean, but the state would require, for what the applicant
Oh, yeah,
is trying,
you'd have
the
to,
state
yeah.
requires it anyway.
You would
so-
have to have it as a rescue, sorry, I thought you were making
Yeah,
where we're going
I
with
mean,
kennels.
you've heard me say before, it doesn't really make much sense to add a condition that you have to comply with state law. You have to comply with state law,
So
whether
that's-
we say that or not.
For this versus, I see what he's asking.
I just want to make sure that he's registered with the state, so that.
Where this is different from the other kennels that we've had in the past, is they were breeding operations. And so we required them to be registered with the state
Does state law require this type of operation to be registered?
for rescue, yes, sir.
But he's not gonna do the rescue on this property,
Also
are they?
for the fostering.
Also for the fostering, okay. And by like,
Fostering, when you look at the definitions, you
Yeah.
have rescue and then type of rescue is fostering.
and my counterpoint to that would be if the state doesn't require it, the state's not going to allow you to register if it's not something they require in the first place. So it really would be meaningless for us to say something about what the state does.
Bringing up previous, we also had conditionals on the number of, animals. So is that something, because, I mean, he has, do you want, he seems to have.
That's right. That would be your purview as a board for a recommendation if y'all chose.
I would be amenable to adding that to the, number that, so you specify 30.
What did you say?
I'm gonna find a clean section on this paper.
No. Well, now, that's including, not including his.
No, that's correct.
And we had a discussion about that. With personal dogs too.
Yes, because we don't have anything in our
Oh.
zoning ordinance to
Okay.
regulate personal animals, only those that are part of the kennel.
And what, yeah, I believe it's, and it's going, it's ready.
But I thought he said that you said that you foster personal too, correct?
Correct.
And that you have 16?
Yeah, that's including my own. There's 10 of our own and then 6 that we're fostering.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
With his but that's what his personal.
yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you charge for fostering?
No, sir. Volunteer.
So for that one, I'm out of the house until he exceeds state limit.
Mhm.
He wouldn't have to do that.
Right.
Yeah, my concern was
Sidebar,
what's the limit on your personal fostering? How many can, you know?
So long as he's not taking in money. Personal fostering is I'm trying to make sure I
The
say
state
it.
does not impose a limit.
Yes, there you go.
Okay. And we don't have anything in our zoning ordinance that would impose a limit either.
There's a fine line between the county and the state on that one, and our county does not. Go to that fine line in our zoning.
Okay. Y'all gonna
County does.
amend it or go forward like it is?
I still think it's probably wise to to put it in this.
Limit on the dogs, the number of dogs.
Number of dogs
30 dog capacity.
for the facility. Business.
Okay,
I think it's probably the correct way to do it is no more than 30 for the facility, so.
got a motion, do I hear a second?
Wait, hold on. So we're gonna add, okay, we're on motion 3. We're gonna amend the motion a second time to where, Mr. Gandy, you tell me if I'm using the wrong verbiage for you, sir. On a motion by Mr. Gandy, that it be approved on the condition that a 100-foot vegetative buffer on the side and front property lines
Be maintained.
be maintained, with the facility being limited to 30 dogs. Did I say that to please you? All right.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Lee?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
I can understand, but my concern is the number of personal and that, so I say no.
Yes. So 5 to 42 to approve. So be here May 1st at the Board of Commissioners at 6 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Now we open the public hearing on amending the zoning ordinances. Tracy?
Okay. We'll be considering amending the zoning ordinance in section 7.3 AR, the minimum acreage, and then in section 8.5.1.1 concerning the accessory dwelling units in AR and in A2 zones regarding minimum acreages, and in Article 8, the area, yard, and height requirement chart. First up is section 7.3 AR, and we were proposing to change the minimum lot size from 2 acres to 3.99.
Okay. Do we have anybody to speak for this? Anybody to speak against this? Mr. Simmons?
I just have a question. My neighbor's property is 2 acres and it's zoned AR now. So if you change it to 3.99, what zoning classification will he go to?
It'd be a lawfully non-conforming lot. He wouldn't have to change unless he wanted to.
Well, if he wanted to do something,
He'd have to go to an R1.
have to go to an R1. What's the minimum on a lot? Or
1.5 acres.
1.5 acres?
Yes, sir.
With a well and septic?
With well and septic. If we start going below it, you start losing, it has to perk just right for it to be, a septic system and a repair field. So that's where, that 1 to 1.5 in the county, as we sit right now, is 1.5 acres for an R1. Now, if you go to county water, it's
Y'all making it too thank you. Y'all making it too complicated.
Anybody else? All right, close the public hearing and open it back to the board. I I'm gonna have something, I ain't opposed to this, but I think we jumping back in it too quick. Because we just changed these last year, what, 6, 7 months ago?
July of last year, sorry.
And now we're doing it again, and my concern with it is the people that's bought property in this time frame wants to use it to do this. They gonna, if they wanna put, that's my concern is that we're just jumping back into it after last July of changing the zoning regulations on this. I'm just concerned that it's just jumping back in it too quick to try and change it all over again.
What was it changed from?
We changed the title and the description on the property. The lot size was less. We went from, and I'm trying to address everybody, but ask questions. We went from an RR to an AR, so that we have more rural county than anything, and so instead of having residential property popping up in the unincorporated county, we went to an AR zone, and we also allowed for more home-based agriculture practices. At the same time, in the AR, that wasn't allowed in the RR.
I guess my concern is with him, that, you know, just like he said, this, how many non-conforming properties are we gonna create now? And then people that were in, AR, what they could do in their AR, no longer they can do it, they have to go to R1.
No, they wouldn't be, sorry.
They wouldn't be
Is it all right to
limited?
address?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. If you have a lawfully non-conforming lot, you continue your practice, because it was before the change, as it came in, out of 16,300 and however many parcels was decided by the end of this month, just a hair over 5,000 are lawfully non-conforming. I was trying to remember the exact number, but I went at the end, so sorry about that, but it's under 5,100, but there's 5,000 either, depending on your opinion, lawfully non-conforming, or either, what's the right word for this?
You're grasping for a legal term.
I'm grasping for a legal term, but where it's just somebody's screwed.
Well, if it's lawfully non-conforming, you know,
That's still, that fits it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so.
I mean, if it was legal at one point and then the law changed, they don't have to change. They were already there. That's what we used to, you know, that's grandfather, is the colloquial term, or lawfully non-conforming. You know, now if somebody started doing something illegally, there's no statute of limitations. You can always enforce the zoning ordinance.
But the move earlier, last year, what we tried to do was limit our lawfully non-conforming. Is this what we did? I'm so sorry.
But let me ask this question. All
Yes,
right, if somebody come in the last 6 months and change it to AR,
they'd be lawfully non-conforming.
lawfully non-conforming, all right, if they wanna change it, they have to come back in and pay another rezone fee.
If they decide to lift the moratorium and go away with the free rezone to conformity, yes. If they don't do away with the free rezone to conformity, then no, they wouldn't have to pay for it. But the only reason they would come in for a rezone that I can see, you tell me to shut up when I go too far, would be to do a practice that wasn't allowed in an AR, to where they would need to go to an R1, and I don't know of anything. R1's more restrictive.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So I don't know why somebody in this instance going from AR to R1 would want to break that lawfully non-conforming status, because they would be self-restricting. When we had a flush, y'all might remember the end of last year, when we had a bunch of A1 properties come to A2, because they didn't want to have CAFOs or poultry farms in particular going up around them. They actually constricted themselves on that property, that they had more freedom on an A1 than an A2. And that's how they wanted to keep their community, the standards, how they saw it in their property owners, so they expressed their rights that way. That would be the only reason that I can see, and I'm a very, four walls person in this room and on the record, would be that they would want to constrict themselves in their community. But it can go either way. People can look at it. That's just one way that it gets argued every way, and I'm not paid to have an opinion.
Or if they want to divide it.
Or if they wanted to divide it. Sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
It's fascinating. The number 3.99.
Yes.
Now, where did that come from? And, change for the sake of change probably is not a good idea. Why would this change from 2 to 3.99 be beneficial?
I had, the 3.99, just for the record for everybody, was not going with one or the other. It was trying to strike in the middle to where both sides had to have a discussion, and that was the only reason I pulled that out.
If I may, I'll go back one step further. That number first appeared as an exception for the moratorium, that you could rezone to an A2 not more than 3.99 acres. And the reason for that, to an AR, yes. And the reason for that was so you could not split it, because the minimum lot size is 2 acres. So if you had 4, you could split it. If you only have 3.99, you can't. That was just for purposes of the moratorium. I don't see that has any continuing application here. This number could be an even number just as easily.
And please do make it an even number, whichever way y'all want to go. But the reason this number was chosen by staff was so that both sides of the coin talked about it and nobody just went one way or the other. It caused a conversation.
Okay.
Because it's definitely coming as 2 different points to our office.
Got here a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that, and I'll go ahead and say, we talked about it last time, and everybody kind of wanted to hear, and so whoever's here today, they can hear where I stand on this. I'm probably in favor of being higher than the number that's stated there. And the background that I'm going to utilize is what we've all had the opportunity to participate in, and this is the land use plan that is being proposed by the citizens, the majority of the people that had the opportunity to present and to talk about this. And just so I know, it's kind of small, but this is the one I could print out. This is, the green area is what everybody says they want to preserve about Madison County, and that's the rural nature. And some of the feedback that I have gotten on this is when we look at it, we're not trying to restrict necessarily, but we are trying to promote what it is that the citizenry asked of us, which is to keep what it is that we all enjoy about the county. That, of course, has some consequences sometimes, and when we are subdividing 2-acre tracts, I live in Harrison, and you take the road frontage off of something into 2-acre tracts, and you do that 4 times without having to come before, that can begin to shape or change the character of an area, where specifically with some large tracts, I'm still learning all this, but there were a couple proposed chicken houses in an area where a gentleman had 178 acres and he wanted to build something on his farm. And because of the way things had kind of changed in that general area, as with some subdividing and whatnot, he didn't get to use his land the way that he wanted to, and the way that he had purchased it, and his intent. And so I struggle with that, as we talked about on the previous case there before, my right to enjoy, does that supersede that of my neighbor? That's kind of the reason that I'm going to stand upon what it is that the citizens have put before us. And once again, this is me. So in an instant of being amicable, I would like to submit that we approve as presented with 3.99 acres.
Not 4.0? I only raise that because I've never seen such an odd number in a zoning ordinance, and I fear that, people will be forever trying to explain to surveyors and members and agents and all sorts of people why this is 3.99.
I will, legal counsel's here for a reason, so absolutely.
And I respect,
Go ahead.
and I respect Mr. Williams and what he said about the map, and just my opinion, I went to several of those meetings, and I saw some people's opinions that were not correlating with what the map was saying and was not presented on that map, and hearing that some of the pressure is going to be put on cities to compact or put more in the cities for residential and stuff like that. So, that's what I'm saying. This go and keep raising the acreage to keep from this thing, so we don't have a moratorium where we keep this and that. I think we have to look at all as a whole, that, like you said, we just raised it to 2, now we're trying to go to 3 to keep people from splitting, and people have the right to do what they want to do with their own land, so I'm saying, we keep doing this over and over to keep this one section from doing this and that one from doing that, but we have to look at people as a whole and their land and what they want to do.
Ms. Bradley, you may want to see if you get a second before there's any more discussion, because if it dies for lack of a second, there's no need for
All right,
discussion.
second.
I'll say.
All right, any discussion, Bruce?
If I agree with you, we seem to be kind of dealing this out penny by penny. I mean, I'm not so sure that 3.99 is the right number. I think, as you notice, later on, we're talking about family dwellings per lot. And, to get it for an AR, for example, to have a minimum to get an additional building on it, you have to have 8 acres. A minimum of 8 acres. So I'm kind of thinking 5, and when you think of that, the difference between the 8 and the 5, it seems like more step to make more logical sense. But again, I think that your point's well taken. That I think the comprehensive plan essentially has kind of pushed us in that direction, and I'm sympathetic to what you say, Cynthia. It's like when my wife wants to have us buried on, our little bit of acreage. I'm thinking, God, we're going to have dead people all over the place. Let's put them all in one place, And I think that our cities can handle a lot more.
You have to look at the infrastructure of the cities too.
Yeah,
I mean, we're putting more.
We don't represent the cities,
I know
though.
we don't,
That's the
but
part
I'm
that,
just
once
saying.
again, the cities have their own council. We represent I know you live in a city. I live in the unincorporated part of the county. And that's what we are here to represent, is the unincorporated part. Not to put the burden onto it. We can't force it. We're not forced.
We got the motion in the front.
They have their own, which is a part of the master plan.
Okay, any more discussion?
No, and again, certainly, I think I'm comfortable with the motion as is. I just see that as
We changed this to AR for a reason, to put more emphasis on agricultural. I have a problem with calling a 2-acre parcel agricultural. I think the parcels need to be larger if we're gonna call them AR. R1s need to be residential. And you can deal with smaller lots with R1. If we need to adjust R1, then so be it. But I just feel like the ARs need to be larger.
Okay, we got a motion, got a second, any more discussion? Williams?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion approved.
And that was for 4 acres.
4 acres.
Per legal counsel.
Number was to discussion to show that I think staff didn't favor one or the other. That's the reason we chose an odd, because we knew it would be a charged conversation.
Okay, open public hearing for number 2, Tracy.
We had we didn't vote.
Yeah, they voted.
Yeah, we did.
What was the vote?
5-1.
5-1.
All right, the second, let me call that here. The second one is concerning section 8.5.1.1 regarding the accessory dwelling units for AR and A2 zones. Currently, in the AR, you would have to have a minimum of 4 acres to have 2 homes on it, listed under the accessory dwelling units. And they are proposing 8 acres. And currently, in the A2, you have to have a minimum of 10 acres to have an ADU, and they're proposing to raise it to 20 acres.
Any, not in favor of this?
For the sake, I just want everybody to know for the numbers, it's 3.99 instead of 798. I just went around it on this one. All right, just so y'all know.
So Christopher,
I think we're in the middle of a public hearing.
oh, I'm sorry.
Anyone in favor?
Yeah, any in favor? Anybody opposed? I hereby close this public hearing and open it up for discussion. Please.
The fact that, I know that I have suggested a few other changes to accessory dwelling units, and we're playing with that. Does that have any bearing on this, that we can't consider those things later, or is this something that needs to?
This would be something, since y'all took up the first matter, we'd have to address the second as well. Are you talking about the questions you posed with ADUs? Like
Yeah.
ADUs in and of themselves? No, that's a separate discussion.
Okay.
On that. Besides
So
the minimum acreage,
that's
that's
what
the
I'm
only
saying.
thing. That's, yes, please,
Okay.
another day.
Okay.
I mean, if they wanna open it up,
No,
but this will, just so the board knows, the question ADUs, that you posed that may come before the board, this would be, I don't know, a factor in that, I guess is the right way to say it.
Well, I think the only thing that's been proposed and advertised are these 2 acre exchanges from 4 to 8, and 10 of them AR, and 10 to 20 in A2. So that's really all I'm going to address today.
Legal counsel.
Well, what, A1 raised that before. Well,
Did it on purpose, did I? No.
why wasn't A1 raised too?
A1's the discussion and the background for that is with the 25 acres and making a setback for those that have farm help, and not necessarily for rent or other. Did a single wide on chicken farm, for example, not saying anything against a mobile home if needed use of what. But for farm help, not so much for it to be for seasonal help, maybe. I don't know the right way to quite phrase it, because it's come a few different ways.
Maybe because 25 acres is already big.
Yeah, that too. But there are vast amounts of discussion and arguments that get posed at me from several different angles. What he said is one of them. The council said 25 acres is a big parcel, and if they decided to split an A1, which poultry farm would, or hog farm, or any confined animal feeding operation would have to cease to exist in most cases. So that would, in effect, change its land use.
Any more discussion? I
I can argue it both ways, just whichever questions y'all pose that.
Do I hear a motion to accept or approve or disapprove?
I'll make a motion to approve.
You got a motion to approve, do I hear a second?
Second.
Stephanie seconded. Any more discussion? Stephanie?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Public hearing, again for number 3.
Okay, and really, this one really wouldn't even require a motion. It's just to adjust the, Article 8 area, yard, and height requirement chart. It currently has the 2 acres, but since we have voted to move the minimum lot size to 4 acres in the 8R, that's basically all this is for.
So we,
Should we
to
do-
change it,
yeah.
we,
We'll
since
need
y'all
to
voted
vote.
to change it, we'll need a vote to say, yes, we can change, or we recommend from this board to the DOC that the chart change with the.
I think it's really just a ministerial change. It didn't require a separate item, but since we're here,
So,
if you turn it down, I don't know what the heck we're gonna do.
It needs to say 4 acres instead of right
It needs
now.
to say 4, yeah.
okay, open public hearing, any in favor?
I got to,
Any opposed? I hereby close this meeting and open up for discussion or motion.
I move that we approve 4.
Got a motion to approve 4 acres
I'll second.
by Bruce. Williams seconded. Bruce?
Yes.
I go with the first one.
Yes.
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 Motion carries, 5-1. Okay, anything else?
Okay, well, Cynthia, you voted no
yeah.
on this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
That makes sense.
Oh, I understand.
I already started writing.
Any more?
You got anything else? Chris, you got anything going on?
We talked about it at the business meeting, and I don't know if it required a public hearing, but the board wanted them to discuss going out for a third party to look at this, if we should say, we discussed it and, recommend going out for the third party. That was good for us, because we discussed it.
Yeah, it wasn't on your agenda. Was that discussed?
Well, I mean, it's a recommendation with no change. It's just whether or not the P and Z board feels that yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to discuss that now, or, I mean, that's up to Mr. Bradley and the board, I guess.
Yeah.
Really, if y'all want to, making sure I was, trusting right. If y'all remember earlier this month, Mr. Canolis, was at the DOC, meeting where, Commissioner Chandler, and I'm sorry if I'm going around the board trying to think about it, where he was charged to come back and talk about the AR, ADUs, and whether or not, the board felt that we should look at a third party to, come in to help us assess our zoning ordinance. I think I'm saying all this right.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm country. If I don't say it right, or I say y'all too many times. If we want to discuss it and move forward with everything else as to how the board feels, to let the PNC, to let the VOC board know how the PNC board feels about going out for a third party to help with zoning changes. God, did I say that right?
Yeah.
All right. If y'all want to discuss that tonight,
Y'all want to discuss that tonight, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
so-
it needs to be discussed.
Yeah, all right, I'll open it up for discussion then.
I think, I would like to start, I know that at our last meeting, Mike did a great job of saying that there are resources out there that we can use that can come in and help us with certain things. Can you kind of say that again, so that?
Sure. So a couple things. One is, let me start with the comprehensive plan versus the zoning ordinance. So the comprehensive plan is a summary of what the citizens have said, and it's put into now the Board of Commissioners has adopted and sent to the state for approval of some general principles of what you want where, as described by character areas. The zoning ordinance is the tool that implements the comprehensive plan. Now, how do you rewrite the zoning ordinance? There are any number of ways. So there's form-based zoning, there's unified development codes, and there's traditional, what we have now, the zoning ordinance with a separate subdivision regulations. And there's others I'm sure I'm not thinking of and don't remember right now. There are many people who make their livings knowing what these things are, how they work in different situations, different types of counties and cities that you hire to come in. Now you've got a comprehensive plan for them to look in and make some recommendations about what would be appropriate and how to implement that comprehensive plan. That person is not me, it's not Christopher, it's not Tracy. That's not what any of them, we all do different things, but none of us do that. That is a specialty. Oconee County, for example, that I work with, because I represent the city of Oconee County, they don't do text amendments without bringing in one of those consultants, even for their small text amendments. We've already gone, and I'll just go ahead and stick my neck out and say, not just with this most recent process, but over the years I've been here, Madison County has been very bold in making its own text amendments without any outside expertise. And your zoning ordinance reflects that. So, yes, there are resources out there to do it a different way.
I think we
Some
should,
counties have staff just for it.
Yeah, sure, bigger counties would have internal staff for that.
I think we should bring some outside help, because that would clarify what, over the last 6-7 months, just like we're doing tonight on these amendments and all.
There's been a lot of sidebar conversation.
That would help
This is
out
our
on
first
that going
chance.
forward to see what we need to do.
I'm in the middle of trying to insert all those amendments, and I
I know,
don't have
Bruce,
enough
I
time to
think
get it all
Stephanie-
done.
No, go ahead.
The other extreme is, I don't know how Franklin County came to be, to adopting what they currently have, but I know their citizens up there don't like it, that they have overextended things, and it's too, well, it's not what they want. I don't know if they hired someone to do it, or they just adopted a unified development code, let him out of it. I don't know, but anyway, they
Speak on Franklin County off the record.
Well, and you raise a good point, Mr. Frank, joining again. So we've done a lot of it piecemeal already. Some places probably do just wholesale adopt another jurisdiction's
and we don't
something.
want that either.
Yeah, exactly. That has its own obvious set of problems.
Okay.
They went out, picked one, or had a group, grabbed it, took it back and applied it, not necessarily using a third, my opinion, sorry to be out of turn, not using a third party working with staff and their team, the board, to make sure that what they reached out and grabbed fit the county. They just went and grabbed it, and that's something I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm just totally don't want to be associated with that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be throwing away all the work you've done on the comp plan, because now you're not going to actually try to do a zoning ordinance that reflects it.
And they did not seek to enforce their comp plan. Sorry, Mr. Gandy.
Oh, no, I just kind of reinforcing kind of what I think the influence, I think everyone's drifting towards that way is, yeah, it seems like a logical next step. I mean, the comprehensive plan, and I think the Board of Commissioners should be congratulated on that and taking the initiative in having that. And that comprehensive plan is a vision statement. Now, I guess what we're looking now is an execution plan. And someone that has that background will tell us, okay, now from this vision to reality, there's these things. And so I just like to echo, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I do too. I think the tool is more important than the vision statement. I don't want the comp plan to be a waste, because several of us, we worked really hard on it. I'll be the first to say, even though I'm new, I'm not qualified to write those ordinances. I don't know enough, and I want to get it right. I don't want the next board that comes in to switch it and go back and forth year after year, or whatever, how many years. I'd like to just get it right, and I think we need help with it.
I second that.
The county staff has a recommendation put to y'all for a recommendation to the board. So that's legal counsel.
No,
You-
that's your
you have
prerogative.
a-
Go ahead.
We need to make a recommendation then.
I'd say, you know, we let them discuss, and if the board felt comfortable moving forward with a recommendation, or we all go home and we sleep on it, pray on it, you know, whatever we need to do. So we got the discussion started, so that makes sense. But staff would like to say that we go out, we recommend going out and looking for the right third party, just like we did with the comp plan. You know, just make sure we choose somebody that will work with us and not dictate to us. But we go out, we find that third party, they come in, they work with staff, just like the comp plan worked with the county. They work with staff and using the comp plan to put together our toolbox of tools to use for zoning tools. And we work on that, and then we spend a 3-month period in discussion with the P&Z board before we put it before the BOC. So they work with staff, we discuss it in public hearings.
Oh, I see, okay.
And everything through the P&Z board for a 3-month period before we make a recommendation to the BOC.
Recommendation, you mean to hire the firm?
If we hire the firm, have a timeline set up.
Oh, well, if you hire somebody, the firm will help you set the timeline. You don't have to, again.
Okay, that's right.
That's what we're,
Set a
that's,
timeline.
we're, that's what you're hiring the expertise for.
So we need a motion to send it to the DLC, or how?
Will they need to hire?
Oh, yeah.
So it'll sort of like Hall Consulting, will like go out for bid, and they'll pick a couple.
Exactly.
Well, we won't have to go out for bid for this.
Well, you don't have to go, I mean, they might do a formal RFP, they might just
Yeah.
pick from a list, I mean, it's not something that's required to be bid, that'd be the DOC's prerogative. I don't know, I haven't discussed it with anyone, so I don't know what the DOC's expecting. I think staff, department head is at least recommending to you that
You
he's been, but,
We need, I'd say to help move it forward, we need a recommendation from this board, so a vote to recommend to them that we go out for a third party. It's not like I'm prepped or anything and have 8 names.
right.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
And the motion is,
To recommend on behalf of the P&Z to the BOC to go out for a third party, God, am I saying this right? We're making a motion to go out for a third
To
party.
seek, expert assistance with revising the zoning ordinance.
Got it first by Lee, second by Stephanie.
All they can do is say no, that doesn't cost us a thing.
Right.
Yes, it is,
Yes.
Yes.
6-0. Okay, anything else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
sir, so moved.
Bruce made a motion to adjourn. Everybody say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Then we can go outside.
Thank you.
No, she doesn't get around a whole lot.
Good. I don't know if it or not, I just sat here for a minute. I never did what you want. I don't know.
Were you able, did you ever talk to anybody in the assessor's office?
No, I never get the time to do that. What? Appreciate it.
I see what you're doing.
Crazy, I'm going to somehow,
you know, put together some kind of plan.
Anything worse. Well, you did when it was first, but I don't know.
I turned it off before it was raining.
Oh,
That is not what to do.
yeah, I know, right?
I just played that song.